Good evening. This is Hamden Action Now, and we've been having all kind of technical difficulties this today. But we have Michael Oratade here today, and we are going to be talking with him about his run for state office. He's running for First District Green Party candidate for state senate. Stand by. We'll be talking to Michael Oratade in just a few seconds on the other side. I'm not too sure if you can see me. I think my screen is not now. My we've
No,
been
I
having
see
all
you. I
kind
see
of.
you.
You can see me. Okay, great. Well, welcome to Hamden Action Now. The reason why we're talking to you today is because you are an activist. I know you're a part of the BLM 860 movement, and now you're running for state senate under the Green Party in the first district. Can you tell us where the first district is? The state senate district?
So the first district, state senate district, is it encompasses some of the south end and west end of Hartford, and a little bit of the north end, and a large portion of it is also encompassing Weathersfield.
Awesome. And so okay, we already know I already understand the transition on how you went from activist and now, politician sort of. I know that's kind of a dirty word. When you call somebody a politician, they get a little angry. I won't call you a
It's okay.
politician, but I wanted to find out, how does that work? What happened with that?
I mean, for me, it felt like the natural step. Running for office felt like the next step in my journey, because what we need more is activists in office. What we're seeing a lot of is individuals who are not for the community, who are out of touch with their community in office. And we need to move away from that. And we need to move in the direction of more people who are willing to fight for the community.
Isn't that the truth? It's so funny down here in our area where I'm in the 11th Senate District, and all due respect to all the folks that are currently in these positions of authority, but they've been there a long time. You've been there like 30 years. 30 years, really? So what about the person that's currently in your seat? How many years have they? What? How long is their
He's
longevity?
he's been a politician for 30 years as well, but he's been in the state senate seat for 26 years. So he has been the state senator in this district for 26 years now. And I think it's about time for some change. Some more forward thinkers. In the district. So and he does appear to be a little out of touch with his base here in the district. So I think it's time for some change.
Yeah, it's really interesting how, and then, just through my experience just recently, it's these 30 and 25 and 30-year incumbents, they get offended when somebody wants to like, well, I'm not really sure if I want to retire yet. I'm like, but it's not like a job. You know what I mean? It's not like, we hired you and we're going to give you a retirement party and all that. No, the voters decide when it's time for you to retire. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So tell us a little bit about your legislative priorities, and why are you running under the Green Party? I know I'm wearing green tonight in honor of your Green Party, but
Yeah.
why the Green Party?
To be honest, a lot of the Green Party individuals who were the heads of the party, they've been active in the community. They come to protest. They are vocal about the power structures that exist, and how they need to be changed. And there's no agenda with that. They're just believers in the people, and I think that that is something that I can stand on, being that the Green Party is a people's party, that they are for the people. I just had a interview yesterday with Howie Hawkins, and he's been running for offices for years, and his consistency has been unwavering. He actually gives a damn about the people, and
Mm,
and that's just been so consistent. The issue is that we live under a duopoly of a two-party system, and that's not true democracy. If you only have two choices, then do you really have a choice between who you want to represent you? And that is the reason why I'm running as a Green, because not only are we a party of activists, but we are also not going to participate in a lot of the lies and disappointment that permeate both parties.
mm-hmm,
They have this thing they do where they promise to change this and fight for this, and they
mm,
always turn around and do the opposite. There are very few that are consistent, and I want you to know that the ones that are consistent with the positivity and fighting for people happen to be activists. We have a case in point with legislators like Gary Winfield, right? He is, and that he
mm,
was an activist before he ran for office, and he has
mm-hmm,
been consistently fighting for the people as he occupies that seat. Same thing with individuals like Justin Farmer, and it's coming to the point where we need to stop voting down the party line and
mm,
start voting for people who are truly going to represent us.
right. Well, I mean, so it is it the two party system in Connecticut, and what we've been, we continue to learn more about how our parties are set up. I don't, again, you don't find out any of these things until you run. Um, I was the treasurer for Daryl Brackeen, who decided he was going to run in the 92nd district. So, unceremoniously, he runs down. He goes and spends 2 weeks in the blistering heat getting signatures to force a primary on the Democratic Party, and then he brings in his signatures to the registrar, and they summarily throw out conveniently enough signatures that he doesn't have enough to run a primary. So then he goes and says, okay, well, the Working Families Party, again, like you just said, we have the two parties, and so he was going to interview for the Working Families Party. Then lo and behold, I call up to Seek and I say, okay, so we have all the signatures because he explored a run, so he has all the support. He already had people who supported him as exploratory. We are being told that the statute says that the minor parties are not eligible to get the grant, the public financing, unless they go out and get signatures. So he basically had to go now back out and get 1,600 signatures in order to get the full grant for the state rep run. But the Democrats
1600.
and Republicans, yeah, and the Democrats and Republicans don't need to do that.
Yeah, they don't.
So, so you
It's
see,
it's crazy. What it is it makes it difficult for minor parties to really exist in the state of Connecticut. And I'm hoping that once I'm in office, that I'm able to make some necessary changes. One such changes is things like ranked choice voting, so that it
mm-hmm,
isn't so much so people are voting for parties. We are going to be able to choose a first and second choice, and then what individuals will be more inclined to do is if they feel as though I'll be a better representative for the state, or for the state senate seat, that
mm-hmm,
they'll be able to happily choose me as their first choice and be able to choose the other individuals that they want to be a second option, because they are afraid that someone who may be across the party line, Republican, could unseat the person that they have in office, um, and they won't have to have that fear anymore, because what's
right,
going to happen is they'll be able to vote for me, and vote for the other guy, and make sure that that last guy does not get the same amount of votes to really be a danger. And that is something that a lot of people need to consider, because that will literally change the way that we view democracy now, and your choices will actually matter at that time, because you don't need to be
Right.
afraid. You don't need to be afraid that things are going to change when you have the control. This is actual control over that. So I'm hoping that there are a lot of viewers today, and that they look into what ranked choice voting is, because it is something that I
Mm-hmm.
plan to fight for. And just to go in, my platform is very deep, because I am an activist, and I am Black, and I am a person living in this state. So I see the disparities across the board. I see all the intersectional issues. As a person of color, as a child of color in this state, I see all of the issues as a teacher. There's a lot of room for improvement in the state of Connecticut, as liberal as they say we are. Where there's a lot of room for improvement, and one such improvement is universal early childhood education. I believe that is
Mm-hmm.
something that everybody should be able to agree on, that they care about the children, right?
Right.
So we need to be empowering our youth by expanding what we know now as our public school system into universal early childhood education, so that our children who are ages 3 to 5 have an opportunity at a quality, equitable education, and we'll be able to take care of that. A lot of people are afraid of what it's going to look like from our taxes. Well, for a program like this, we can absolutely fund it with our soon to be growing cannabis industry, our lottery money, and as well as supplemental funds from the federal government. We can absolutely
Right.
appeal for federal funding to get this started. We don't want to supplant any spending. We don't want to replace any spending. But what we can do is supplement it with federal dollars, so that it has
Mm-hmm.
some foundation. And this is all about foundation building. Our children are our foundation. They are going to inherit this earth when we're dead and gone. So we need to be making
Right.
sure that they have the support systems that we didn't have. And
Right.
it's interesting that we have the argument that oh, I didn't have that program, or I didn't have 2 years free of college and things like that. Well, that's a problem. That was
That's
a
a problem.
problem. So you should be happy that the ones coming after us do not have to have the same problems that you do, because that is what society's progression should look like. That we shouldn't have as many problems as you had to progress in this world. So that is one of the big tenets of my campaign. You're free to ask me
Mm-hmm.
about anything else, because there's so much to it. And a lot of times I don't get to dive too deeply into all of my tenets.
Yeah, it's hard. It's that's why we always, we come on here, because I know when you get a chance to go out to normal, in other places and other venues, they only give you like 5, 10 minutes. So no,
Right.
if there's any other items in your, like you said, in your legislative priorities that you want to talk about, here's an opportunity. There is so much to do in Connecticut. I mean, and people think that all we do here on Hamden Action Now is talk about police accountability, and no, we talk about a lot more. I mean, there's equity in the schools. I mean, that is a big problem. This the equity in the schools throughout the state is so different. Where the
Right.
Hartford schools look different than the Bloomfield and the West Hartford schools. Down here, the New Haven schools look really different. The public schools look really different than Guilford in New London. Guilford in Madison and those up on the shoreline. And that shouldn't be it shouldn't be that way, because don't we all want our kids to have the same? I mean, because they're the ones that are going to be fueling our economy in the future. So wouldn't you want them all to have the
Yes.
same education? I'm just
Right.
saying.
And we have a property tax infrastructure right now that basically supports our school systems. And what a lot of people don't
Hmm.
understand is that there are not a lot of property owners within the city of Hartford. Like there aren't a lot of individuals that actually own their homes in the city of Hartford. Or at least the most of the residents in Hartford don't. So if we base a system off of property tax in the city of Hartford, then we're not going to get the necessary funds that we need to make sure that we have an equitable education system, equitable funding. So we need to start reimagining what funding will look like in cities like Hartford, in cities like Bridgeport and New Haven, and start looking
Hmm.
into where we can ensure that the schools get the adequate funding that they need in order for children to have an uh, equitable education. And that shouldn't be, it's crazy that it feels like it's a hard ask, right? Like, yeah, we need
Hmm.
to take care of the children, but it is, it is a hard ask. A lot of people, they think things like, where are we going to get the money? We have the money. We have a ballooned
Hmm.
rainy day fund in the state of Connecticut right now that could absolutely go towards this. We could absolutely appeal for more money from the federal government to fund so much, so much of this, um, because we need it, you know.
Right.
And the people need to cry out. The people need to speak up about the disparities. We need to be doing this, and like you were saying about police accountability and things of that nature. The major part of my campaign, as well as a part of my racial justice piece, is to attain true police accountability. But not only that, but empower the community through the social and emotional supports that we need, you know
Yeah.
and that way we can make sure that individuals are least likely to commit crimes, that they're able
Yeah.
to progress, they're able to get the social and emotional support that we didn't have growing up, as well as a quality education. So that's another piece of the puzzle for my racial equity, my racial justice piece, is to ensure that our children have a quality education, that we curb this recidivism rate that we have at
Hmm.
34% right now. We get that down by true investment into the community, which we can do. We can get people to go inside the prisons and train people to come out and get a job. We can create recovery homes akin to recovery homes like A New Beginning out in New Haven. I know the guy who
Right.
runs. His name's Rick Del Vale. And he has a great system set up where individuals who are suffering from substance abuse, who maybe just came home from jail and don't have a place to live or
That's
don't have
great.
any access to resources, he gives them a place to stay, and it's not a shelter. We hear a lot of demonization of shelters in our neighborhoods. Well, you can't really complain when an individual who was unhoused is no longer unhoused because he lives next door to you, because he is now your neighbor, and he is
Right.
now afforded the same opportunities as you because he has upward mobility. Now we have an opportunity to help him find a job that is willing to hire him, with his record, because there are jobs like that exist, and a lot of people
They
don't know
are.
about them, you know
Yeah.
but places like A New Beginning, recovery homes, those things give people the resources, they connect you. It's almost it's almost a no-brainer that we should be funding programs like that, and it's a great infrastructure, because what he does is he helps them get a job, and then they get social emotional supports like AA meetings
Hmm.
like in the house and things like that, or somewhere nearby. And now what we're seeing is individuals are starting to pay into that system that he's created so that he can buy more and more housing to house more
Hmm.
people. So it's really a no-brainer to get things like this funded, because this is what's going to support the community, going to support our growing homeless population, because not a lot of people know there are people being evicted almost every day in the state of Connecticut, and it's
Every
stories that
day.
you'll never hear about. And this isn't just going to help the homeless and the formerly incarcerated, but this is going to help with individuals who are suffering from housing insecurity. So if you don't
Hmm.
have the ability to keep your home, or stay afloat, well, you have an opportunity to live in one of these recovery homes until you're back on your feet, and you have a better shot at survival, because you'll have
Right.
your term in there, and then now maybe you are capable of purchasing your own home, after a brief stint in these locations. So I think we need to start reimagining what this housing crisis will look like if we start investing in programs and supports for for individuals who are suffering from houselessness and housing insecurity.
Yeah, affordable housing, a lot of majority of the affordable housing has all these programs, but they're voluntary. So, and a lot of people, a lot of people don't see the value in it, but we need to build it right into, we spend a lot. I mean, we throw millions of dollars at bricks and mortar all around the country and in our state. But we will, if you look at any of those development deals and whatnot, they'll spend a very small fraction of their development budget or even their operating budget for the emotional support services, the wraparound services for the folks in the
Right.
community. And so we have to have legislators, I believe, and this is why I talk to legislators all around the state and say, we need more supportive services that are built into these developments that we spend 20 and $30 million to build, but then we don't, we put very small amount of money into supportive services. We need to have that, child care, GED, substance abuse, domestic violence. I mean, we need, emotional supports, like you said, really important. So you'll be a really awesome advocate for that in the Senate, to support and introduce that type of legislation. We're hoping, if you get across that line and get elected in November. And you know what I kind of like about like the two parties, but I think this is interesting that I ran under Working Families Party. Um, you can campaign from January all the way to November. You don't have to get burned out from a primary. That's a big concern. The primary burnout, and then if you don't make it past the primary, like your election's over. Like it's over.
Right.
It's over in August.
Right.
Like you can
So
you can go all the way to November. I think that's awesome.
yeah, and I'm, a big part of the campaign for us so far is doing just some door knocking. We have that
Hmm.
ability, and we're able to start early and let people know I'm already on the ballot, so you don't have to worry about not seeing me after the primary. I'm already there. So vote. Use your power to vote. And I plan on making sure I hit at least 20,000 doors myself as a
Hmm.
candidate. So I can, for one, I'm seeking the Seek grant, the financing grant. So if anyone's watching this, please feel free to donate to my campaign. Visit
Right.
mikeforct.org and learn about me. mikeforct.org, mikeforct.org. And you'll learn all about my campaign tenets. So far, we are at about 7,500 in funds raised in the last 2 months. And most of that comes from just July alone. So if you contribute, we need to raise 17,000. So we have another 9,000 or so to raise. And once we raise that, we'll be able to get grant financing from the state, which we'll use to do a lot of events in the community. While I was the president of Black Lives Matter 860, one of the big things that we did at the end of the summer was a haircut drive, a back to school drive, where we gave away backpacks, had ice cream truck pull up for the kids. Anyone could come and get a haircut, if for the kids. And what I would like to do is do something like that all over Hartford. So, have like 5 barbershops set up and ready to cut anybody and everyone's hair. You come and you register to vote on the spot and learn about, the campaigns happening in the state of Connecticut, learn about how you can get involved. And, I'd love to do events like that, as well as cookouts and things in the community to give away food. And
Hmm.
I want to do things that I've already been doing as an activist, because these are things that I've already been doing. But now I'll have the support from the state to do it with
Right.
campaign finance, which you would think, more people would do, but I'm not sure um, what individuals do with campaign finance. But I know this is what I want to do with it. So please feel free to donate to my campaign. I know times are hard right now, but trust me, once I'm in that seat, I'm going to do everything in my power to fight for change and make things a lot easier for you, especially our moms, our single moms. Big part of my campaign as well is to get uh, more supports for the mothers, more akin. We need supports akin to what was introduced in 2021 called the Momnibus package. I'm not sure if you heard of that, Rhonda, but it
No.
was
Mm-mm.
basically it was a bill package proposed on a federal level that would have added more protections for Black and Brown women, because there are a lot of health disparities within our medical system, a lot of healthcare disparities. So Black and Brown women are are not getting the same treatment as their white non-Hispanic counterparts. And just some statistics for you: 60 out of 100,000 Black women die giving birth in this country,
Yeah, that's something
and
else.
versus 20 out of 100,000 for everyone who is not of color. So we have to think about that. We have a smaller population of Black and brown people, yet we're dying three
Mm.
times the amount as our white counterparts. And there has to be something that can be done, especially in the state of Connecticut. We can do a lot better. My mother was a victim of malpractice when she gave birth to me. I am a victim of
Oh wow.
malpractice when she gave to me. So it's not something that is rare or something that doesn't happen. It does happen. So
It's still
we
happening.
definitely need those. It's still happening. We need those protections now. There's a bunch of stories like mine that you'll never hear about because they don't make the paper. So or they don't win their court cases because there's a different different that's a whole different ball game when you're a person of color going through the court system in any aspect. It's not built for you. So it's harder to win if you don't have the wealth to ensure a win. So it's a scary road, and we need the supports for individuals of color in our healthcare system, especially women.
Yeah, and I just think legislation has to be made for supports for women, um, women of color, myself, my daughter, who will, may be a mother someday. And we have to, and again, you won't know these things. Like a lot of times people don't even know. They're like, what? Is that still happening? I'm like, yeah, this is still happening. It's still
Yes,
happening.
it
People
is
are
still.
not, they are dying giving birth. And we're an industrialized nation in the
Right.
Northeast with some of the finest healthcare in the country right here. Black and brown women are dying at the hospitals trying to give birth to their children. So it's very hard. So, what other legislative priorities, and tell us about any events you have coming up soon as you continue to campaign in November?
So some other legislative priorities of mine are creating a circular economy through our municipal waste infrastructure. And the way we can do that is by getting the funding to create for municipalities to basically install a newer technology to deal with their waste. Because what we're doing right now with our garbage is we're shipping it out of state. And that is not a carbon neutral process. I can tell you that much. Paying a hauler to use their diesel hauler to grab our garbage and drive it across state lines. Um, that might be a good way to say that Connecticut is carbon neutral because we're technically not dealing with it here. We're shipping it out of state, but it's smoke and mirrors. We need to be dealing with our
Right.
garbage here through a circular infrastructure. And I plan to make sure that funds are allocated to empower municipalities to do just that by using newer technology to deal with our waste. Not incineration. Incineration is harmful for the environment. I want to melt
Yep.
down our garbage and create an aggregate. And we can do that through uses of technologies like plasma arc technology. And what that does is it melts down the garbage at temperatures close to the sun, and those materials become inert. It deals with hazardous waste, hazardous materials that are otherwise dangerous for our environment, but still disposed of. So we can deal with those chemicals and also install a portion of that those facilities to create a circular economy with our plastic. By actually recycling our plastic and repurposing it, and that can be taken care of by the individuals who are providing our plastic. So it wouldn't
Hmm.
even come down to the user's expense, because a lot of people there was a lot of fear mongering around what would happen if we had installed EPR bills about how it was going to make people and it's going to make prices go up in the grocery
Wow.
store. And it worked. That fear mongering worked, but unfortunately for the people who were fear mongering, these laws for like for EPR and dealing with our plastics and creating a circular infrastructure have already been passed in other places like California, for instance, and we have many rising in prices associated with dealing with our plastics in an appropriate way. And you got to think about it now. If we're dealing with our plastics and the manufacturers are basically getting their plastic back, like I don't even understand why anyone would think that we are in danger of prices rising if we're recycling their plastic and giving it back to them at their own
to recycle
expense.
it.
It doesn't really make any sense for anyone to believe that we're going to. I mean, corporations, can do shady things like like try to upcharge just because, you know,
They
but they're
can.
getting their materials back. And we'll have the evidence to show that, yeah, you got your plastic back. Why are you raising prices? So we have a duty to work on this. And the biggest part of this infrastructure that I want to install here in the state of Connecticut, or at least empower the municipalities to install, is the fact that if this garbage can be melted down, it can be turned into an aggregate that can be used for road construction. So if you are a
Hmm.
resident of Hartford or a resident of any major city in the state of Connecticut, driving through the city is a absolute nightmare. Our roads are riddled with potholes, like awful potholes. Anyone who's a resident of Hartford will tell you, like, I've seen a 3 foot deep pothole posted in groups like Hartford Dwellers, where it's like a baby could fall in there. You know what I mean? And they would be lost. So that's something that I think is a danger to our communities, not only our communities, but individuals who traverse our communities, whether that be by car or by foot. If your foot gets caught in a pothole that size, it could be absolutely dangerous. Marching
Right. You
for
can't even
justice
cross
for
the
Randy
street.
Cox, marching for justice for Randy Cox. I remember running into several deep potholes, and we had to have people stand in front of them so people would walk around the potholes. That is ridiculous. We can absolutely deal with this problem if we deal with our garbage. Imagine that. Imagine we melt down our
Right.
garbage and it's into a gravel like substance and it's put right back into the community. And this is at no expense to the consumer. This isn't going to hurt our
Right.
economy in any way. If anything, it's possible for us to lower our transportation tax budget, which would impact our gas prices by doing so, because now we don't have to pay for materials. There's no cost of materials when we're melting down 300 tons of garbage a day, and now we have several tons of aggregate to use on our roads. So we got to think about this new way of approaching a more circular economy, a more recyclable economy, and it's inert. And I want to stress that it's inert and it's not incineration, so it's not going to contribute to any carbon footprint if done right. It's a safe process that can be used to create a better economy, and support our cities, and even outside of that.
And it's way
Imagine
better
if
for
we're
the
way
environment,
better
I
and
would
for the
think.
environment. I
Yeah.
encourage anyone to Google it. Google plasma arc technology. Go on YouTube and do your own research. Read some studies. Look at the pros and cons. There's even newer technologies, because if you invest in this technology, what you're going to see is R&D, which is research and development. So these technologies can always get better and better as long as we invest in them. This technology is actually fairly new in practice for what we're using it for now. It's only about 20 years old, but it's been used in Canada. It's being used in Japan. And it's a great way for us to deal with a lot of the issues that we're suffering from now, including our garbage.
It sounds really interesting. And it sounds like something that we all need to, I mean, our state needs to look at. I mean, like, not just, our state senator and the first district, but in general, our municipalities need to look at this as well. I mean, our obviously we're in the middle of this nasty heat wave, the nastiest I think I've ever seen. And our environment is really, we're in trouble. Our planet's on fire. People in
Right.
parts of the world, or all over the world, suffering right now with the heat. And then we'll get onto the snow and the flooding that's going to happen in the fall. So
Right.
these types of really innovative ways of recycling trash, and making it affordable, and helping things that can help our climate. we really need to look in, and we need legislation that looks at that.
Right. We're looking at a world where we're going to be moving towards more electric vehicles and more
Hmm.
hybridized vehicles in the next decade. We might even be fully electric and hopefully carbon neutral. But if we're going to keep taking money from the big corporations that are harming our environment, and we're not going to reach carbon neutrality in any time soon. We got 8 years. And yeah, I see someone saying it's a way to create jobs and opportunities. I actually had someone argue with me about how eliminating jobs like the like hauling jobs and fracking jobs and things like that,
Hmm.
how that's like harmful and how we should be investing in those jobs. And I said, why would we invest in not only stagnation but going backwards? We would be going backwards if we invest into corporations that are harming our environment, that are literally going to that are killing us. Instead, what we
Hmm.
need to be doing is helping people transition into these greener jobs. If there's a
Right.
greener job with the elimination of like your hauling job, if there's a job where you can get where you're not necessarily hauling garbage across state lines, but instead you're hauling these road aggregate from these plasma arc plants. You're hauling this to municipalities that need it, and possibly imagine this, and this is just a big vision here, Rhonda. Imagine we're melting down enough garbage for our roads and things like that to the point where we have so much aggregate for our roads that we are able to ship some of this aggregate to New York. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like we can get some of this aggregate. Now we have, and let's say, because again, remember I said we are moving towards an economy where we may see electric trucks and things of that nature. As of right now, we're hauling garbage in diesel trucks. We're hauling garbage in these trucks that are bad for the environment. But one day,
Right.
with this infrastructure that we could build for municipalities, fund for the municipalities, and again, we get towards more greener technologies fueling our cars, whether that's hydrogen or whatever else that's not going to increase the carbon footprint. We'll get to a point where now we have electrified trucks that are
Hmm.
hauling this aggregate across state lines, and now New York is paying us to use the aggregate. So now we're getting outside money the same way that we were paying outside money to we were paying the individuals outside to deal with our garbage. So our tax dollars are going to Philadelphia right now in order for them to take our garbage. Instead of doing that, we could be getting money from the state of New York for the aggregate for their roads.
Right.
So now we got tons of material that we could be shipping out of state on electric haulers, and now we got a brand new economy. We got a brand new thing being
Right.
funded here in the state of Connecticut. And this is big picture thinking. This is thinking that we have 26-year incumbents not thinking about, the big picture.
Right.
We got people who've been in office for so long that we're not thinking about modernizing. We're not thinking about how we can take steps forward into the future. And that's what we need to be doing right now, even with just, and I don't mean to rant on, but look at our state's websites and things like that. And all of these resources that we have, like we don't have enough of a social media, social engine optimization. With imagine this, and this is something that we need at the state to get into. If I was looking for a job and there are jobs available, like let's say I want to drive somebody, say there's jobs available for people to be school bus drivers. I could literally Google job openings Hartford, and what happens is a lot of our information, whenever we do stuff, normally that information gets turned into advertising because these corporations and things are selling our data, right? So we have a bunch of ads coming up every time we Google puppies. Now we got like Save a Puppy showing up on our timeline and things like that. Well, how about if I'm looking up jobs, and our search engine is optimized to show me, the state of Connecticut will show me an ad saying school bus drivers needed, city bus drivers needed, things like that. We could be moving in a
Substitute
direction where
teachers.
two teaching jobs are needed, and that stuff could show up on your timeline. I'd rather be shown. I'd be. you know, someone's in the comments going in. Literally, you know, it makes no sense. It doesn't. It's ridiculous. I had to learn about school bus drivers being hired at $25 an hour because I'm a bus monitor at the end of the day. When I'm done teaching, I go sit on the bus with the kids, and he makes $25 an hour to start. Do you think anybody knows that he had went through a program in order to get that? He said he went down to I want to say the DMV or something. He just saw a piece of
Hmm.
paper on a billboard in 2021. He saw a billboard inside of the DMV, and it said hiring bus drivers. That's how we're hiring people. That's how we're finding people in 2021 and 2022 on cardboard billboards with thumbtacks in them. You know, opposed to just seeing it on your timeline. And this is what I'm saying. Why we need to be investing in the modernization of a bunch of infrastructures that we have in place. And we're not going to do that with 20-year incumbents. We're not going to do that with individuals who've held office for 2 decades. They don't even probably use the internet the
Or
way that we
three.
do.
And see, and you know what I also find, the 20 and 30-year incumbents, they're so offended when you say that. And I'm like, but you're like, how can you stay connected? I mean, in 1985, let's say that was 37 years ago, right? So
Right.
how much has our world changed in 37 years? I mean, we are completely in people, in that generation, is totally different now. Our new generation is all web based, social media, TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
Instagram. We don't even communicate the same way. Um, and
Exactly.
but it's a strain. And we're going to talk more about this in the coming months, even after you get elected and you get into your office and whatnot. We got to talk about the culture of politics, not only in Connecticut but around the world. And you'll look at our Congress, look at our Senate. People have been there for decades,
Yes.
and they're
Let's
not
install term limits. You know, if I have to be
right.
35 in order to run for president, then I shouldn't be 70 running for president. You know what I mean? I shouldn't be able to hold that office past my prime. You know, like you wouldn't want someone who's 80 years old taking care of building your house. You know what I mean? You wouldn't want
Mm,
individual who is 80 years old, jackhammering in the middle of the street. You know what I mean? We don't want individuals who are past their prime, um, running our government. You know, these
mm.
individuals are way out of touch with their base at that point. So we need to start looking into things on the federal level in terms of term limits. Even on the state level, we need to start looking
On
into
the state
term
level,
limits, and
yeah.
you know what I mean? Because if no one should be in office for 30 years. You know what I mean? No one should. 10 years at the most, maybe
It's
15 at the most, if that. But even with our growing technology the way it is now, every 5 or so years, we reach a new level of evolution in terms of like what we are, as people. So we
yeah.
got to really start looking at it that way when it comes to the people who are in power. We can't keep having individuals from the 80s who are literally against like human rights at one point, um, talking like they care about the people now. Um, I heard Biden is like increasing spending on police. You know,
Yep.
and he was originally running on the whole Black Lives Matter and actually caring about the people. And that's the power of what our Democrats system that they built is. They can lie to the people and then get into a position of power and then not do anything and literally backtrack on everything that they claim they cared about. And we need to be moving away from the dishonest campaign. We need people who are activists, people who are literally fighting for your betterment of your life. We need those individuals in office, individuals who can't be talked down. Like you're not going to talk me away from supporting the Black and brown community. You're not going to be able
Right.
to talk to tell me that people don't need the resources when I'm seeing it every day. You're not going to be able to argue with me about that. You know what I mean? You're not going to be able to
Yeah. They
sway
always
me.
They always argue about our lived experiences. Isn't that something?
You
I,
know,
I, I always have people say, is it really not? Is it really that bad? And,
that's because of
why didn't you,
segregation.
can you try this? Can you try that? And I'm like, but see, we were talking earlier about, like you were talking about the community, the education and it's a big ask for federal funds to come to these communities like Bridgeport and and Hartford and Waterbury and Meriden and New London and these larger cities. But let's talk about how the federal government, with intentionality, redlined and took resources and deliberately rerouted resources out of these communities for decades. Our federal government did that. Okay.
They
And so
have an
now here we are.
obligation.
They have an obligation to reroute those funds back to the communities that they redlined the funds out of. And don't do it as if you're doing somebody some type of favor, because you're not. Because what you're done, you did it with intentionality. These communities, these, wealthier, affluent communities, they didn't just happen. They were designed to be that way. Just like I will always preach about New Hallville here in New Haven and Hamden. If you go to the red line maps, you can put a map right over that community where they were redlined out of the resources. And you can when you drive down Dixwell Avenue, Michael, I'm telling you, you can see where the red line is. It's like an invisible red line, and you're driving down. You can see where the resources stopped. It is that stark.
Yes,
And it's
yes,
all over the state. It's all over our country.
all over
So
the
then we
state.
come back and
We're
oh
actually
well,
the most segregated state in the country. We are one of the most
right. And then
segregated states in the country.
oh well, we can't keep constantly helping out the needy communities. These communities were created needy, and you all did that. It was done on purpose. That we all pay the same taxes, right? But our tax
Mhm.
money was allocated in a different way from the 1930s up until, I'm saying right now, as far as I'm concerned. And until
Right.
we get people with those lived experiences, Black and brown people in these positions, in these seats, Senate seats, state rep seats, get folks in these seats with the lived experiences and understand it, we will absolutely never see economic prosperity and equality in these communities, because everything looks like it's a big ask when it's really not. All we want is our funds back.
Exactly. And I gotta say this again, and I'm not like, and I'm not trying to sound like these other politicians who are always begging for donations and things like that, man. Because I'm really with the shits, y'all. Like I've been consistent. I've been in these streets for 2 years straight now. Like I am. You are not going to see me turn coat, change to be like anything else. Like I'm not going to turn into something else. Like I don't care. I don't give a damn about money. If I didn't need money to survive, I would be fine. I'm telling you that in order to get me in office, enough people need to know about me. And in order for enough people to know about
Mm-hmm.
me, I need the resources to win this election. So when I'm telling you
Yes.
I've raised $7,500 by myself, that means individuals have listened to me speak. Individuals have seen me in the streets for 2 years straight. Individuals have seen me fighting every day, almost every day, working my jobs, doing everything that I am doing, and in between that, fighting for the people, feeding the people, getting people off the street, doing everything that I can. They see that and they supported my campaign. I'm asking you to do the
Mm-hmm.
same. I'm asking you to just Google me, just go read my article that they did on me in the Hartford Current. You will see that I have
Yes.
been this person. I have been the person who's a fighter, and I'm not gonna stop. But the thing is if I don't get the support in order to get in office, then I'm not going to be able to win this election. I'm not going to be able to be the voice of the people. I'm not going to be the ear to the streets to get changes that we need. So I raised 7,500 on my own. What I'm asking you to do is, and this is what I do every Friday. I call it Five Fridays. What you do is you donate $5 right now. And then you inbox five of your friends and you say, yo, I need you to donate $5 to this campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And then tell them to do the same thing, inbox five of their friends and tell them they need to donate $5 to this campaign. And then they tell five other people and just keep telling people to donate $5 to my campaign. And if we do this, what we'll see is my campaign get fully funded and I'll be able to
Mm-hmm.
get the word out. I'll be able to do some events in the community and you can come. I'll invite every organization, whoever's in these chats, come. I'll make sure that you are aware. I'll put it on my Facebook page, which is Michael Oratade for State Senate District 1. Just look me up and you'll see it. You'll see it there. And
Right.
just come and we'll have a good time in the community. If you want to volunteer, we'll get some people at tables to register people to vote. And my goal is to just get as many black people, black and brown individuals feeling like they have a choice. You know, we feel we're so depowered in our current standing in society that we have lost faith in the system. We have so many people
Yeah.
who don't even care about politics because they are unaware that politics affects their everyday life. They are unaware that literally from your grocery bill to your gas bill to your the cost of living
Everything.
is all controlled by politics. You do not have the option to not care about politics. You don't because it's literally ruining and destroying your life. And by saying that you don't care about politics, you're saying you don't care about surviving. You don't care about your children. You don't care about
Mm,
getting ahead of this. And you know, we don't have that affordability. We never have had that affordability. And it's honestly a disgrace to everybody who fought before us. It's for a disgrace to all the people that fought for our right to vote. They fought and
yeah.
they
The
died.
people who
They
died,
died
the
fighting
ones
for
who
that
died for
ability.
that, right? These people who
They
died,
died.
they actually were hung, they were lynched. Okay. There was
That's
lynchings
how
all up and through the South for this right.
that's how powerful that power is. And they want you to think that it's not powerful because you keep voting the wrong people in. So how about we start looking at the person and not the party? How about we start looking for actual change and we hold these politicians accountable? You could pull up on these
Yes.
politicians. They can't run from you. You put them in that position, they cannot run from you. So you need to hold these people accountable. Like you could call me when I'm in office. You could call me anytime. I give out my card willy nilly in the neighborhood. I just give it
Yeah.
out. Like you can call me anytime. My office phone is on there. You can text that. I'll go right to my cell phone. You
Hmm.
know, so I have no problem
Yeah.
talking and engaging with the people. Sometimes I'm so busy on my campaign trail that I haven't been able to respond to everyone, but I do my best. And once I'm in office, I'm gonna have an aide. I don't know why, but I hear stories about my opponent, the incumbent. He's been in office for 20 years, and people been emailing him for 10 years, and he don't
Oh, see,
respond.
that's terrible. That's terrible.
You know,
Terrible.
somebody told me
Terrible.
he saw them at an event, and then they said, you know, I've been emailing you, and then he said, oh, I saw your name before, but he never responded to him. You saw their name before, and they've been emailing you for 10 years, and you ain't respond to them. That's crazy to me,
Yeah. See.
you know. And I'm not
Yeah.
here to
Yeah.
badmouth my opponent. I don't care about him that much to badmouth him. I feel some type of way about him because what he said to RV Walker. I don't know if you heard about that story.
No.
So there's a lobbyist by the name of RV Walker who was lobbying in the Capitol, and she had a stands with black women's pin on, and he came over to her and said, I should wear a stands with white men pin. He said that to her. I should wear a stands with white men pin. And she was
Mm,
flabbergasted. Like she was like a loss for words. And you could Google this. You could Google my opponent. And
yeah.
then he doubled down and said, you should take a walk in my shoes. He said, you should take a walk in my white man's shoes to a black woman.
I'd love that.
Mind
Give
you,
me them shoes.
you representing a large part of your district is black and brown. For you to be that disconnected from the people who you represent is just
It's totally
damn near
disrespectful.
diabolical.
Yeah, it's totally
You know,
disrespectful. And and that's you know, that's what happened on January 6th. I mean, everybody is so disgruntled, but they're disgruntled about what? We don't even know. I mean, you guys are all living with this wonderful thing called privilege in this country. And like, I don't know, I guess that's not enough. I don't know. But,
right?
I'm so, you see, this is what I wanted to say to you. Because like I said, I only ran for this little seat over here in Hampton's Town Council. But when you put your name on that ballot and you say that you're going to run for something, it's huge. You put your name out there, you put your body out there, you put your family, your friends, everybody, because everybody, wants to talk about you. I mean, it's such a huge emotional sacrifice to run for any office, and to run for office like this, like you said, with a 26-year incumbent on not on a major party, black or brown person in first district in Senate is huge. And I want to, commend you for that. And I hope everybody can see this and share this around to everybody. MikeForCT.org. Give to his campaign so he can raise funds, so he can get to that clean elections grant, which is this elusive grant. If you're not a part of the major party, it's an elusive grant. Good luck trying to get there. And he's got to raise these funds so he can get this funds, so he can get lit for his door, for door knocking. He can get people to knock doors. He can get robocalls and things like that, so he can get his message out. So it's MikeForCT.org. And again, Mike, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us tonight. If we could talk to you again between after the primary, but before the general election, that would be great. And I could even come up and meet you, and I can meet you, and we could talk there, which would be great. You can show me around your district.
Sounds good.
That would be
I'm looking
awesome.
forward to it. Just hit me up anytime. And again, visit MikeForCT.org to learn all about me, and support the campaign. If you want to come out and volunteer, if you got the resources, I'm really looking for some more Hispanic volunteers, because the district is largely Hispanic. So if you want to join me in the streets and you are bilingual, please hit me up. You know where to find me on Facebook. I'm here. Ask for my number, and we'll chop it up and volunteer through MikeForCT.org. There's a volunteer form you can fill out, and I'll get your phone number over to my volunteer coordinator. And what we'll do is we'll get you on the schedule, whether that is you can accompany me throughout the district and we can knock doors together. And
Right.
let's just do this. We have to get another 5,000 signatures. We got 1,000 signatures already. In order to get the seat grant, we got to get another 5,000. So we will be in the streets all next month with everybody, all of our resources. So feel free to join us. We got this. I know we're going to get this. So let's
What's
do
your
it.
deadline to get the signatures?
So our deadline, we are anticipating getting the 10% grant, which would only require 3,000 signatures.
Mm,
That would have gotten us only $37,000 from the state, and that's not enough. So what we're aiming to do now is get the 80,000 from the state by the end of September. So we've got quite
okay.
a nice window of time. We got all the next month. So far, we've basically got 1,000 signatures over the course of 2 weeks. So we're
Oh,
gonna
wow.
do another, and that's just with mostly me and maybe like 5 other volunteers. And now our
Hmm.
volunteer group has climbed to about 15. So what I'm hoping to do is grow it to 30, and then
Hmm.
have everybody scheduled throughout the month of August, and then everybody's hitting doors. We got a whole map. We got to wait for you to hit doors everywhere. So just
Okay.
join the team. Let's do this together. We got to win this.
All right. Thank you so much, Michael. And I see I kept you under an hour, which is what I promised. But I want everybody to come out and support, contact you through MikeForCT.org, and good luck. And we're going to talk to you again after the primary sometime, hopefully in September, and get as many people out as we can to get those signatures so you can get that grant and continue on with your campaign. All right.
Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you so much. Yes, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday in this really hot weather.
All right,
All
I'm
right.
staying in. All right.
Take care.